Hi everyone, it's Karen. I'm back and I'm gonna try and do a short video for you on making my beaded butterflies. I'm not claiming to be the originator of these. There's probably other videos out there. This is just how I do it, and I didn't follow anyone's video to learn how. I just kind of did it myself. So you can see in front of you I've got quite a few in different stages of production, I guess you'd call it, and I'm just going to show you how I put them together. Different colored beads I use, different sizes of beads. These ones here are 6/0 beads, so they get a little bit bigger. The smaller ones are all 11/0 seed beads, or small tiny seed beads. You don't have to get fancy about the size of your beads. And once you get used to it, I would say just go to the dollar store and get some beads, and then once you've practiced a bit, you'll see that using different sizes of beads gives you a different result. And of course, your centers can be anything you want. This is a piece of bling mesh, a pearl, a little heart. This is a little bead that I've twisted on. This is just a flat back from the dollar store. This is a piece of a pearl string, and these are two little acrylic flowers that I got from a seller on eBay. And the wire too that makes the antennas you have to get a 22 or 24 gauge wire specifically for the antennae, and I get different colors. And again, at the dollar store or Dollarama or similar places, I know in the States they don't have all those, but they sell like packs of this really thin wire, and it works well for the antennae. It works well to bead them as well if you want to use, because for beading them you want to use a very thin, and you can use really expensive wire. Michael sells this wire that of course is going to be tangled now. Sells this type of wire, and it's like about a 30 gauge, and it's a big roll, and that's all you need for the beading part, because you want to be able to it to be flexible and be able to twist it and everything. The number of beads that you put on the wire, again, depends on the size of the wings you want and what size beads you have. So I usually count so that I can make my wings the same size. So on this particular piece of thin, just plain 30 gauge wire is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 beads. And then what you can do is just kind of pinch it together and have a look at it. And it's easy to maneuver. You can pinch them together to a certain point to make them this size, or you can widen it out stick your thumb in there and widen it out a bit and make it rounder. And if you're happy with that size, then all you do is give it a twist, and you have one side of your wing done. And with all these wires, these thin wires that you can use, they're really easy to straighten if you just run your fingers over them a bit, because the warmth of your hands just straightens it out nicely and gives you now you can be fussy and you can repeat your pattern exactly the same around, or you can just, not. It depends on what kind of look you want. So I'm not going to be fussy today. I'm just going to go ahead and count 10 more beads on this side. 4, and with the 6/0 beads, they're really easy to slide them over the wire to put them down. So I would say when you're first starting with these, get a little bit bigger bead. I think I mean, if you go into Michael's or anywhere, they sell their beads by sizes, so it is a little bit bigger bead. I know in the dollar stores they sometimes have the bigger ones like this and the smaller ones, so just look at it and see what you think. But they are seed beads, they're not bigger than that. And then this one, you just want to wind this around, and you again use your fingers and make it come into some kind of a shape that meets up with the other side. Now I know obviously it doesn't look the same right now, but it will. So you want to snuggle it in there so that you've got it joined together, and then just again you can wrap this one around that center piece now you've got, voila, you have your upper wings. And again, just maneuvering them with your fingers, you will get them looking somewhat similar. So those would be your top ones. And the piece of wire that I used there was about 4 inches. So you don't need great big long pieces of wire, but cut what you're comfortable with. And then as you get more used to beading them, you will feel more comfortable just taking a piece of wire and not worrying about measuring it. Now I usually do the bottom wings on my butterflies slightly smaller than the top. This one you can see I did quite a bit of difference, and sometimes I do the wings more oval shaped, and sometimes I do them more round. Just whatever, I think whatever mood you're in, go for it. So we had 10 on that, so I'm gonna go with 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this wing, same thing, wind it around, make a little loop, and then pinch it together so that the wires are close together, and manipulate it a little bit before you wind it tight, because this is an opportunity to move the beads around a little bit more when it's loose, right? So it's pinched together, you can see that right there, but not twisted yet. I sort of arrange them the way I kind of want them, but they're loose, of course. And now just twist, 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 and again, you have a little circle of beads. And if you want, you can still manipulate them a bit, of course. So if you want it more round, that's fine. If you want to squeeze it a bit and get more of an oval shape, you do what you want. So now we're going to do the same on the other side, and we did 8. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, slide them all the way down. Now if you use a smaller bead, you won't be able to slide them down over the 2 wires at the same time, because they're just too small to do that. And so that's these little 11-ohs that are here. So that's why I say start with a little bit bigger bead, 6-0, 8-0, and then you have, it's a little less frustrating when you're first learning. So again, you want to just wind that around to make it meet up with this one. That's all you want to do, is just have that bead wind around to there. And you can see how absolutely awkward and weird that looks, and looks wrong, and it can't be right. So you can go back again and manipulate it a little bit more, so that as you're rounding it out, you can get a better approximation. Sorry about the shadows there. I'm still trying to learn to work with my new room, my new space here, and the lighting and everything, and it's a little different. So that's pretty close. I'm happy with that. One thing about crafting is I've learned to be less worried about everything looking exactly right, because it's just not necessary. I'm going to lay that down so that you can see that better without all the shadows and everything in the way there. And again, I apologize for that. And so you have two top wings, 2 bottom wings. Now you want to put them together. So use the wires that you have left that are sticking out top and bottom. Get them as close as you can together and fold that one wire over the top. And sometimes I will use a beading tool to pull these with. You can use a little pliers or anything, because then you can pull them tighter. So that's one wrapped around, and this one I'm just going to carry it around to the back as well. And that was the one from the bottom, sorry. Okay, So that one's folded now. So all you did was just wrap the wires around. Again, this is going to be covered, so you don't need to stress about it. And most of these things, I add them to projects. This one you can see I connected two together with a jump ring. And so then that could hang off of a project like that. And there was movement and whatnot. So it actually is quite nice. And the backs don't look too horrible. You can see how the backs of the antennas attach on, but mostly, even if it's on a project dangling, you don't see the back too often. So that's something else you can do too. Really easy. Jump rings are easy to buy and easy to work with, so you can do that as well. So there's the little beaded butterfly. Antennae, about 3 inches of whatever wire you choose. Again, I suggest for the antennae that you use a 22 or 24 gauge. You want it a little heavier than that thin wire that you make them with. And all you want to do is you want to fold this in half. And again, this wire too is really easy to straighten by running your hands over it. Now this end, what I like to do with it is pinch it together a little bit like that. And I usually just use my nails because it's quite soft. And then when you're pinching, if you spread these two apart, you can see you get kind of like a little well there. And that's just, it holds the glue really well and it makes it easier to put them on. And then use your pliers. Now I can tell that these are going to be quite long, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. You can make them smaller, and if you make them long, you can make your twists bigger or smaller, whatever you want to do to twist them. And if you do what I did there and you make a mess of it, which of course you know I'm going to do because I'm on camera, just walk it back. It's very forgiving. So there, I wound it down on the pliers and just slide it out, and you can turn it to the side. You have an idea of what you're working with there, and you do approximately the same thing on the other side, although again it's forgiving. So if you end up with them not looking quite right like I did there, then move down your needle nose pliers because you obviously started in a different spot, and wind it down till you think they look about right, and then twist them. And there you have, and then you can, now that when you're looking at them, you can obviously, you know, tighten that one a little bit more, whatever. And when you pinch them together at the bottom there again, and then you can pull them out, and you see you get a pretty decent shape. And then I just put my glue in that little well that's there, and it actually holds it quite well. And then I lay my butterfly on top. Now, don't manipulate them right away because they're not stuck enough. But if you wait about, well, how long was that? 5 seconds? Wait 10 then. And then you can stick your finger on the back of here. And you can press into that glue and press from the top. And then you can just straighten your little wing, your little antennae out. And you can leave them like that, or you can turn them in this way. And you can see the character of your butterfly comes out in just the way that you shape. You can see a lot of them on my desk here. I've shaped them. These ones came out a little bit more heart-shaped. It's just all manipulating the wire. And the glue is cool enough. It doesn't burn or anything. So that one is made, and then just have to choose what you want to put in the center. And I choose lots of different things. You know, here's a little flat back from the dollar store. You can use a piece of bling. I used bling mesh on one of them, on this one, and that works really well. And, or bling like that. And I use E6000, a little tiny bit of it, to put the center on, because I have found when I was just using the hot glue to put the centers on, for some reason, I think because on the top of the butterfly they get banged around more, sometimes they fell off. And I don't know about you, but most of us want our projects to stay looking nice longer, and especially if you give it away to somebody, you want it. So if you put it on with the little dab of E6000 like that, and just let that dry, those aren't going to come off. I don't seem to have the same problem with the antennae, but you certainly could use the E6000 glue on the antennae as well. But then you'd have to place it, like this is a little beading mat that I have here. You'd have to place it onto one of your non-stick mats while it's drying, because otherwise it's going to stick. These are the 11-0 seed beads, and you can see how much finer they are and how they give you the smaller butterfly, but a little bit more, the process is exactly the same. You just have to bend that little piece of wire won't go over the beads when you slide them down. You have to just push it down to the bottom. Don't clip it off till you finished doing your beading, and then clip it off, because otherwise sometimes, because you've only twisted it a little bit there, because you don't want a lot of wire in the middle, if you cut it off too early, you sometimes will have this whole piece come loose. So just leave it at the end there until you get it all wound together. And then once you bring that when there's beads on there, once you bring that back and around like that, and you have it in place with your beads on it, of course, then you can twist these two together. And then you'll have that piece of wire hanging down, which you would use again later to wind around the middle of the butterfly. And you don't have that problem of things falling apart on you. So I hope that has helped, and maybe you'll try doing some beaded butterflies. And if you have any questions, you can leave them below. And thanks. Bye, guys.